Hi everyone. Today, I will talk 2 Japanese horror stories, called, It's Better Not to Understand, and, Wiggle. These were posted on 5channel, that is Japanese online bulletin board system like Reddit. Here we go. This is a true story that I heard from my brother. It seems to be the actual experience of my brother's friend A. When A was a child, he and his older brother visit their mother's house in countryside. It was sunny outside and the rice fields were lush with greenery. Even though it was a beautiful day, for some reason they didn't feel like playing outside, so they were playing inside the house. Suddenly, A's brother got up and went to the window. A followed him and went to the window too. When he followed his brother's glance, he found a person. There was a person dressed in a pure white clothing. He couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman from the window. He wondered what it was doing in such a place, and continued to look at it. And then, the person in white began to wiggle. He thought, is it a dance? But then, it bends the body in an unnatural direction. A told me that it bent the joints in a way that does not seem to be a human. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. A felt creepy and talked to his brother. Hey, what is that? Brother, can you see it? Then, his brother replied, I don't know. But right after he answered, he seemed to understand what that white person was. Brother, did you see it? Can you tell me? A asked. But his brother said, I understand, but it's better not to understand. And he didn't answer anymore. Even now, A still doesn't understand what that was. Why doesn't he ask his brother again? I asked to my brother, because the story kept me curious about. Then my brother said, A's brother is mental disabled now. There is a story called It's Better Not to Understand. That was posted on another site and is quite popular at this internet threads polling station, isn't there? The story was terribly similar to what I experienced as a child. My experience is not scary at all, but when I compared it and It's Better Not to Understand, I got very scared. So, I blended it with It's Better Not to Understand and wrote a story in detail based on my experience. This is a story when my family and I went to my grandparents' house in Akita when I was a child. When we arrived at their house, which we only visit once a year, my older brother and I were so worked up and immediately went out to play. Unlike the city, the air is really fresh. I ran around the rice fields with my brother in a pleasant breeze. Then, when the sun rose and it was almost noon, the moment the wind stopped, a lukewarm breeze blew uncomfortably. I said, why is such a warm breeze blowing even though it's already hot, in a bad mood, because I had been deprived of the exhilarating feeling. Then, my brother is looking at a different direction. There is a scarecrow in that way. I asked my brother, what's the matter with that scarecrow? He said, no, it's over there, and he was gazing at it more. I was also curious and looked at the opposite side of the rice fields. Then, I found it. What is that? I can't tell what it is from a distance, but a white object, that is about the same size as a human, is wiggling. Moreover, there are only rice fields around. There is no person nearby. Though I felt strange for a moment, I interpreted it as this way and said, "It's that a new kind of scarecrow, isn't it? Because moving scarecrow didn't exist, a farmer or someone may have invented it. It's probably moving with the wind that's been blowing for a while." My brother looked convinced with my precise interpretation, but his expression disappeared in a moment. Because even though the wind stopped, the white object is still wriggling. My brother said in a surprised tone, "Hey, it's still moving. What the heck is that?" And maybe he couldn't help wondering what it was. He returned home and came back to the spot with binoculars. My brother looked a little excited and said, "I'll take a look first, so wait a minute," and looked through the binoculars. Suddenly, my brother's expression changed. His face turned pale, broke into a cold sweat, and finally dropped the binoculars. I asked, being scared of his changes, "What was it?" He replied slowly, "It's better not to understand." It was no longer my brother's voice. He went back to the house at a slow pace. I immediately tried to take the binoculars to see the white object that had turned my brother's face pale. But I'm not brave enough to see it, because I heard his words. But I'm curious. From a distance, it's just a white object wiggling strangely. It's a little strange, but it doesn't frighten me anymore. But brother was. Okay, I have to see. I'll see what terrified my brother. I took the binoculars and tried to look at it. At that time, my grandfather came running here in a hurry. Before I asked what was wrong, my grandfather said, "Don't look at that white object. Did you see it? Did you see it with those binoculars?" I was like, "No, not yet." Then my grandfather said, "Oh, what a relief," and broke down and cried. I was returned to home without understanding anything. When I got to home, everyone was crying. About me? No, it's not. When I look carefully, only my brother is laughing like crazy, wriggling and wriggling like the white object. I got scared of my brother, more than that white object. And on the day my family and I left my grandparents' house, grandmother said, "It would be better for him to live here, because a city is small for him. And when we care about what others think, he wouldn't last a few days. It's best to leave him here and release into the rice fields after a few years." When I heard those words, I cried out. My brother is no longer here. Even if I see him again when I come to this house next year, he is no longer my brother. How did this come about? We used to be playing together until a little while ago. Why? I desperately wiped my tears, got on the car, and we left my grandparents' house. While my grandparents were waving, my brother, who had changed, seemed to wave at me for a moment. When I looked through binoculars to see his expression from the car window, he was crying. His expression was smiling, but it was the first and last sad smile that he had never shown before. And when the car turned the corner, I couldn't see my brother anymore, but I kept looking through my binoculars with tears in my eyes. Someday, I want him to turn back to normal, I thought. And I looked out over the rice fields with greenery, missing my brother who he used to be. And I was just looking through binoculars while looking back on the memories with my brother. Then I saw the thing up close that I knew I must not see. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you were scared of it. Have a good sleep.